Once upon a time, sim racing was seen as a nerdy pastime for those who can't race proper cars. But sim racing has had a massive boost over the last few years as real-world drivers turn to their PCs to pass time between races, some to the point of founding their own YouTube channels. As a result, officially sanctioned series from Formula 1, IndyCar, NASCAR and Australian supercars cropped up during the motorsport break of 2020, with most featuring at least a handful of their respective real-world drivers. This is the perfect time then to break out that old Logitech and strap yourself in for a few hours of hot lapping on online racing. But in an ever-growing market, what do you focus on? Let us take you on a quick crash course in what we're playing. Here are our 7 best racing games right now. And if you do enjoy this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more from Goodwood Road and Racing. Starting with the big one. While many may be turned off by the cost, a monthly subscription is required to go iRacing, it's safe to say that this is the top choice of the pro sim racer. The untrained eye may think that a 12-year-old game can't hack it compared to its more youthful competitors, but that could not be further from the truth. Constant updates keep iRacing relevant, and it arguably has the best online community of racers going, thanks to its strict policies against reckless driving. So popular is iRacing that real-life racers including Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Neil Yarni, Juan Pablo Montoya and Antonio Felix da Costa have been spotted passing time between their IRL races on iRacing. It is the sheer breadth of supported motorsport that keeps iRacing on top. Where else can you genuinely put yourself alongside Grand Prix winners and Le Mans champions in similar machinery and see how good you really are? That alone is worth the subscription price. While there are plenty of sims out there for the PC gamer, the console user can often feel a little bit left out. While both of the big players have their own exclusive racing sims, Gran Turismo on the PlayStation and Forza Motorsport on the Xbox, neither feel quite like fully rounded sims. Although, if we had to choose one, it'd be Gran Turismo purely on the basis that we can race round our office. But when Slightly Mad Studios released the first Project Cars in 2015, it offered console gamers a pretty close taste of proper sim racing. The first sequel provided even more for the player, and gives a wide range of options. Want to race Indy cars at the Brickyard? Done. Ice racing? Yep. Porsche 917s down the old Mulsanne Straight? You bet! After you've downloaded the DLC, of course. Many an hour can be lost just pushing the hot lap game as you strive for that extra tenth of a second around Spa-Francorchamps in the Toyota TS050. There is a third Project Cars game now, but it seems to have swerved right off toward arcade racing rather than sticking to its sim roots. So we'd recommend sticking to the second one. The original rFactor was an absolute goldmine for the modding community. It meant that, even though it was a game from way back in 2005, it was still hugely popular by the time of its sequel's release in 2013. The varied nature of what you could find was, frankly, ridiculous. It's possible to lose one day hot lapping a Lotus 25 round Solitude, and another completing in brisker F2 stock cars at Doncaster Bellevue. Thankfully, the swathes of user-generated content have continued in rFactor 2, to the extent that you could pretty much pick a year of Formula 1 history, and before you know it, you're Ayrton Senna racing Alain Prost at Suzuka. Just make sure you have plenty of disk space available, and that your internet is ready for some seriously big downloads, as you'll probably find yourself like a kid in a sweet shop once you start searching through the mod sites. You could pick the equally vast Assetto Corsa here, but rFactor got here first, and still holds a place in our hearts. We're going to ignore the basically Project Cars sequel and concentrate on the still popular original. Okay, so you might not have heard of Automoblista, but that's at least in part because the studio that makes it, Riser Studios, is quite unknown. How unknown? Well, Their previous biggest hit was the official game of the Brazilian stock car V8 series. Yep. But what Riser lacked in marketing clout, they made up for in gameplay when Automoblista hit the market in 2016. It's now widely regarded as one of the best sims out there, and you can get hold of a copy for as little as £20. Just make sure you're downloading the original game and not the sequel. I can hear you screaming, "It's not a sim!" at me through my mic. But the F1 series is, if anything, one of the most important of all time. While it might seem like heresy to say that to the fans of what they'd call proper sims, the F1 games bring more people into the world of sim racing than any other. Why? Because far more people watch F1 than any other form of motorsport. And many of those fans are crying out for any chance to race alongside Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen and co. So think of the F1 series as sort of a gateway game. Having played a few sessions on a pad, the inevitable itch arrives to buy a wheel, and then the obvious step is to try a wider sim. There's also the fact that F1 2020 is much better than some of its predecessors, and there's tracks on it that, due to the disrupted season in 2020, still only exist in the game. The Dirt series, and before it of course Colin McRae Rally, has long been the go-to for rally and off-road racing fans. However, for many sim fans, it always felt a little arcadey. That was until Codemasters brought out Dirt Rally in 2015, and it brought with it a level of realism that hadn't been seen in a big-budget rally game since the almost impossibly difficult Richard Burns Rally in the early 2000s. Such was the popularity of Dirt Rally that a sequel was released in 2019. And, once again, the needle was pushed toward realism rather than arcade. Such is said realism that it's incredibly difficult to get through a stage in one piece, at least for someone with our level of talent, or lack of. That said, while the game provides an extreme challenge, the sense of achievement when you do finally make it to the end is something few other games manage to achieve. The best games stand the test of time, which is why the final entry to this list is still going strong after 21 years. Yep, 21 years ago, Microprose released Grand Prix World, the third and most polished game in the Grand Prix Manager series, and nothing has really managed to come close since. Here was a game that gave us the chance to join in with a football manager, or championship manager it was known back then, brigade, and pretend we were Ron Dennis or Eddie Jordan. Not only did Grand Prix World allow you to control the race tactics, but you were in charge of absolutely everything behind the scenes, from merchandising sales to hospitality units. You could even decide whether you wanted to develop illegal parts for the car at risk of protest from your rivals. Hilarity often ensued with some of the AI decisions. We've seen Jordan and Minardi somehow racing with Works Ferrari engines, but that just adds to the charm. And while we would love to add Grand Prix Legends to this list as one final entrant, that venerable sim is finally reaching the stage where it struggles to function on a modern PC. So, unless you still run Windows XP, it might not be an option. That then is our list of the best sim racing games to play today. But which ones have we missed out? Let us know in the comments below.